Hello everybody, this is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, Acts chapter 27. If you'd like me to come speak at your church, or if you have any questions, you can email me at godsohman@gmail.com. If you remember at the end of Acts 26, Paul got basically permission to have his case heard, and at the very end, in verse 31 it says, when they had gone aside, they talked between themselves, saying, "This man does nothing worthy of death, nor of bonds." And said Agrippa to Festus, "This man might have been set to liberty if he had not appealed unto Caesar." So basically, what happened was Agrippa didn't find anything wrong with him, but since he's a Roman citizen, he has a right to go in front of Caesar. I don't think Agrippa wanted to mess with the Jews. I think he wanted to make sure they were happy. So he said, okay, well, let's go ahead and send this man to Caesar. So he's going to go to Rome now to see Caesar. Acts 27. And when it was determined that we should all sail to Italy, they delivered Paul and certain other prisoners up to one named Julius, a centurion of Augustus's band. And when entering a ship of Adramyttium, we launched, meaning to sail by the coast of Asia, one Aristarchus and Macedonian of Thessalonica being with us. And the next day he touched at Sidon, and Julius courteously entreated Paul and gave him liberty to go into his friends to refresh themselves. And when he had launched from thence, we sailed into Cyprus because the winds were contrary. So you can see here on the map, he's going from basically Egypt, well, he's going from Israel all the way over to Italy. So you can see the blue line there, where he got passed from the Middle East to Italy. And when he sailed over to the sea of Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, the city of Lasea. And there was a centurion who found a ship to Alexandria, sailing to Italy, and he put us therein. And we had sailed slowly many days, and scarce we came over against the Cnidus, the wind not suffering us. We sailed into Crete and over to Salmone, and hardly passing it, we came to a place which is called the Fair Havens, nigh whereunto the city of Lasea. Now when much time was spent, he went sailing. It was now dangerous, because the fast was not already past. Paul admonished them. And he said unto them, Sirs, I perceive that this voyage will be with hurt and much damage, not only to the landing and ship, but also to our lives. Nevertheless the centurion believed the master and the owner of the ship, more than those things that were spoken by Paul. And because the haven was not commodious of winter in, the parts advised to depart henceforth, by any means they might attain to Phoenice, and there to winter, which was hath of Crete, and lay towards the southwest and the north of east. So Paul's basically saying that there's a good chance that this ship's going to get destroyed, and quite possibly it's going to hurt us as well. And the centurion believed the person that owned the ship more than Paul, which, rightfully so. I mean, Paul's a prisoner, the owner of the ship's not, so of course he's going to believe him. And when the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their purpose, loosing thence they sailed closer by Crete. Not only long after there was a tempestuous wind called Aristarchus. But when the ship was caught and could not bear up the winds, it let her drive. And running under a certain island which is called Claudia, we had much work to come by the boat. You can see here on the map, the red line there is the path that Paul's going to Italy. And those blue arrows is this wind that's a really, really strong wind. It's really, really difficult to sail through it, especially when you have a wind-powered ships, sails and such, because pretty much the wind is so strong it's going to control which way the ship's going to go. And basically what happened was this wind started going, and the people on the boat lost control of the ship, and pretty much just let the ship control itself. And then when you get over there to Sicily, you can see on the far left there, that's where the boat was to wreck onto the shore of a small island, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Which when they had taken up, they used helps undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksands, stroked sail, and so were driven. And we being speedily tossed with a tempest, the next day they lightened the ship. The third day we cast out our own hands the tackling of the ship. It would neither sun nor stars, and many days appeared, and no small tempest laid upon us. We hoped that we should be saved, which was then taken away. But after a long absence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them, and said, Sirs, you should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosened from Crete, and that have gained this harm and loss. Now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there should be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. So Paul's saying, you guys should have listened to me and not set sail. I told you there was going to be some bad weather. You did it anyways. We basically sustained a loss. The ship got destroyed, but I got good news. Nobody's going to die. For there stood by me this night an angel of God, whose I am and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God has given thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall be even as it was told to me, howbeit we must cast upon a certain island. So he's saying, don't worry, guys, the ship's going to wreck onto an island, the ship's going to get destroyed, but God told me that everybody on the ship is going to live, nobody's going to die. But when the 14th night was come, we were driven down to Adramyttium about midnight. The shipsmen deemed that they drew near to some country, and sounded and found it 20 fathoms. And when they've gone a little further, they sounded it again, and found it 15 fathoms. When fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out of the stern, and wished for the day. And the shipsmen were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down a boat to the sea, under color, as they thought would have cast anchors at the foreships. Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, Except these abide in the ship, they cannot be saved. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat and let her fall off. So Paul's saying, unless you let us go with you, we're all going to die on the ship. And so, of course, the soldiers let him free so they could help him. Fox News on September 18th said that there's a biblical shipwreck was discovered. The anchor from St. Paul's shipwreck was identified. And that's actually in the Museum of the Bible. You can actually check it out. They said they actually found that the biblical shipwreck was discovered from the ship that we're talking about in this series here. Actually, I think the Museum of the Bible is just an advertisement, but Fox News said they found it, which was kind of cool. And while the day was coming on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, This day is the 14th day that we have tarried and continued fasting, having taken nothing. Wherefore I pray you to take some meat, for this is your health. For there shall not a hair fall off the head of any of you. So Paul's pretty much telling all the people, listen, we haven't eaten for 14 days, and you gotta eat something, or else you're gonna get sick. So make sure you guys all eat, and make sure you get healthy. And when he has thus spoken, he took bread and gave thanks to God in presence of them all. And when they had broken it, he began to eat. And they were all of good cheer, for they also took some meat. Proverbs 25:11 says, A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in the pitcher of silver. 1 Samuel 30 says, And it came to pass when David and his men came to Ziklag the third day that Amalek had invaded the south, and Ziklag had smitten Ziklag, and burnt it with fire, and had taken the women captive, and were therein they slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went their way. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burnt with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were all taken captive. Then David and the people were with them, lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Ahinoam and Jezreelis, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of the people were grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. Sometimes in life, we need to have some kind of morale. We need to have something positive to look forward to. Paul's in the ship. It wrecked. The ship's destroyed, and so he's trying to encourage these people, the prisoners as well as the staff. Hey, listen, guys, we need to move forward. We need to do great things. And even in 1 Samuel with David, all these bad things happened. The people's families got taken. The houses were burned down. And he said, we got to delight in the Lord. We got to encourage ourselves. We were in the ship 217 souls, which is 276. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat to the sea. And when there was day, they knew not the land, but they discovered a certain creek with a shore, and the which were minded, if they were possible, to thrust the ship. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, and loosened the rudder bands, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and made toward shore. And falling into a place where two sails meet, they ran the ship aground, and the forepart stuck fast and remained unmovable, but their hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim out and escape. So they finally landed on a land, and the ship was destroyed. And the soldiers said, "Hey, why don't we go ahead and kill the prisoners, because we don't want them escaping, because it'll be on our heads." But the centurion, willing to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that they should cast themselves first to the sea, go to land, and the rest some on board, and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they escaped all safe to land. And this is just a really cool picture of what it could have looked like when they were tossing around the sea and finally wrecked. Well, guys, that's the video. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me, comment below. Make sure you like and share this video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to put some videos on the screen here so you guys can check that out. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.